years, she never went through 1,500, 3,000, 5,000 in
straight
her
to the
career.
marathon. Yeah, unbelievable. Approaching 28 kilometres, this is the Wild Boar, the Wilde Eber roundabout, and she'll pick up the noise of the bands. There's a great samba band that often parks itself here at the Wilde Eber roundabout. Brilliant atmosphere, and that again will just put an extra little spring in your step, and she'll, I'm sure, respond to that. Being protected by the pacemaker, there's no wind to speak of, but this is the story here of this marathon so far. Eliud Kipchoge and Kindi are well ahead, but slipping away from the world record. But the world record in the women's race is well and truly on.
Well, Chris, the men have gone through 30k in 1:26.24. That is some 45 seconds outside the splits of last year. So they are, I think, just involved in a fiercely intense race in that men's contest rather than a chase for records of any kind now, with 3/4 of the distance done. Look at the crowds here, fabulous crowds, and running through a tunnel of people like that is, well, it's at once a blessing and at the same time it can be hard work. Many years ago, obviously the last century, I ran the odd race where there were big crowds in Madrid, 10k races in Madrid and so on, where you're running through a noisy tunnel of people, and it's deafening. You can hardly think straight sometimes.
Well, these two men are thinking really clearly at the moment, approaching an hour and a half of running, so we've got just over 30 minutes left of this event, and we've got a race on our hands here. And all the while, let's pay tribute once again to Chepkwony, who is still there pacing, gone 30 kilometres. And I hope, Tim, you're right, that he's in for a little extra bonus there for keeping going. Now then, is this Kipchoge on his bike and making his move? There is, for the first time, some clear daylight.
Yeah, separation at last. And this is a very tough moment for Kindi, because he's obviously been redlining for the last few kilometres. We didn't know, and his facial expression gives nothing away, but he's been right on the limit, and he's had to let go now. And he's got to manage himself through these next 10 kilometres. It's going to be very tough. In fact, 11 kilometres he's got to go. How is he going to manage himself? Having hit the red line and gone through it, in effect, he's now going to be back on his heels, and it'll be very tough for him to maintain a solid tempo, stay in second, and keep ahead of that chasing pack.
And that chasing pack will keep an eye on them, because they then will start to close if he's not careful. At the moment, he's guaranteed second place as things stand, but that gap will get wider and wider ahead of him, but it could get narrower and narrower behind him. Approaching 32 kilometres, and there is the trademark smile of Eliud Kipchoge. I think he was stung, and I think he was hurt by some of the criticism after Boston. He had a bad day at the office. He doesn't have many. Just to remind you, he's won 15 of his 18 marathons. That is extraordinary. It's a success rate of 83%, which is, well, without parallel. Nobody else has got that sort of number at all. And were he to go and win today, it would be his 5th success in Berlin, moving ahead of Haile Gebrselassie. And there, just slipping away, 25 seconds outside world record at even pace. Those numbers from last year.
Now, do athletes the calibre of Eliud Kipchoge go through bad patches and then find their legs again and rally? If so, then he's got about half an hour, about 10k of running in which to regain composure, up his tempo, and head back down towards this 2:01.
And this is the moment, the trademark little look over the shoulder, first from Kipchoge, then Chepkwony, and he was away. There you go, mate. It's all yours.
Interesting, isn't it, Chris, that around the time Kipchoge broke away and created separation between himself and Kindi, there's the pacemaker Chepkwony. What a fabulous job he has done. Massive pat in the back from him.
Look at the cadence, though. Oh, and Kindi has paid. There it is, Kindi, and we're not surprised. He was redlining for most of the race, and his race is over.
But Chris, he's been on 2:01 tempo for an hour and a half. Surely he had a 2:04, 2:05 in him, and he's just not managed those those resources sufficiently.
A little wonderful gesture there, a little fist pump from Kipchoge to the pacemaker to say, well done, mate, you've done a great job, but dropped out. So the pacemaker and Kindi, the only challenger to Kipchoge, both have finished their races. One has done a brilliant job, the other has surpassed all expectations, and now look at the cadence. It's almost as if a weight has been lifted, Tim, isn't it? Look at the body language. The smile's back on the face, he's lifted his legs, the arms are working harder, and now in the Berlin sunshine, Eliud Kipchoge is now going to set about. I mean, surely he can't wrestle back this world record from here.
I doubt it very much, although maybe there will be a freedom, Chris, psychologically now for Kipchoge on his own. Glorious isolation out in front, and this is where maybe we will see Eliud take his gloves off, so to speak. There's Kindi. He has run a fantastic three-quarters of a race, but unfortunately for him it's 42k, not 32k, and he is gone. Sad sight, but he will be back, and he'll be back with a bang, I'm sure, will Kindi. He's relatively inexperienced in the marathon distance, and he will have learnt so much from today. It'll take him a while to recover from it, but he will bank that experience, and he'll learn so much from Berlin 2023. Kipchoge here, Chris, I do think that he has an opportunity now to just stride on in his inimitable, isolated style and claw back a few seconds. At 31k, he was on 2:01:38 pace, so he's from somewhere. He's got to find 30 seconds over this next 10k
That's
to get back to world record.
It's a big ask, isn't it? Not impossible, but it is a big ask.
It's 3 seconds per kilometre. It's doable.
It's doable. It's doable. But
he says sitting in his chair with a glass of water.
As long as it's only water. Yeah, there's been a definite marked in tempo and cadence here from Eliud Kipchoge. Well, normal service resumed. Marcel Hug a few minutes ago coming over the line to take the wheelchair title. Victory number 8 for the great man. The silver bullet. Winner. Yet again, Marcel Hug. A brilliant performance. And, well, a sprint finish in the end in the women's race. Catherine de Bruyne winning for the second year running. She won on debut here last year in a course record, and she's beaten the course record again. What a brilliant performance, and Manuela Scher coming through in third place.
Eliud Kipchoge striding out, and around the time that Kindi dropped out, Kipchoge strode onwards, so the sun came out, and he is producing the usual. In Berlin is Eliud Kipchoge. Boeing disaster, Chris, heading for his 5th victory on the streets of Berlin.
It does look as though some tension has been released. He wasn't looking tense before, but I think now that he's out on his own, he's got the streets of Berlin all for himself. It's clear daylight ahead, clear water, if you like. And there's an extra little spring back in the step there. I'm not suggesting for a moment that he was worried about Kindi. He must have thought in his heart of hearts, this guy can't keep this tempo up for the entire race, and so it proved. But there's a determination now on the face of Eliud Kipchoge, who's striding out towards what would be victory number 16 in 19 races. Quite extraordinary.
Well, Tigista Safer has gone through 30k in 1:34:12, a 3:05, that 30th kilometre. She's accelerating. Her last couple of 4 kilometres, listen to this, she's gone 3:09, 3:09, 3:03, 3:05. She's finding extra legs. As Eliud Kipchoge, just a little way up the road ahead, is struggling to get back down towards world record splits. She is pummeling the world record splits of Bridget Kosgei from 4 years ago. 3:05, 3:06, her last 2 kilometres. In fact, she's gone through 31k now, and the projected time, wait for it, folks, 2:12:27. Now, that is a time that until not too many years ago was a great international class time for a male runner. 2:12:27 is what is being projected here. Another massive barrier. Boeing disasters, Chris. In about half an hour, is about 40 minutes, is coming the way of Tigist Assefa.
Yet more history. We asked the question at the start of the programme, would we see a little piece of history again on the streets of Berlin? And so far, the answer, thanks to this young woman, is yes, we should. Still plenty of time to go, but again, a little smile on the face, which is always a good sign. Looking really nice. Eliud Kipchoge approaching 32 kilometres. Way out in front here. Kindi, just to remind you, who was his only company for the first 31 kilometres and a bit of the race, has gone. And now Amos Kipruto and the chasing pack are behind, but they are well behind. Approaching 35k, 1:40.07, I can tell you, was the split last year for 35 kilometres.
That chasing pack that Kipruto is with is 6 strong, mind you. So
they can work together.
Kindi is not now something that they could target. Kipchoge, 1:11.48 at 30k. Just double checking that. Yeah, 1:26.25 at 30k. Excuse me. And the chasing pack, a minute and 17 seconds back at 30k.
Approaching 35 kilometres, Tim, and it feels to me like he may well have clawed back something of that deficit on the world record. We'll bring you the split as soon as we can. A reminder, bottom right, 1:40.07 was the split last year through 35 kilometres. He's got about another half a kilometre or just less, about 400 metres.
I don't think he is doing any clawing, Chris. His last couple of kilometres have both been 2:57s. World record tempo is 2-hour tempo is 2:50. 2:01 pace is 2:52, and he's operating some 5 or 6 seconds outside that per kilometre at the moment. So he's losing ground on his own world record at 34k. His projected winning time is 2:01.51. Remember, his world record from last year that you called so well is 2:01.09. So he's over 40 seconds outside his world record tempo at the moment, and he's got 8k in which to claw it back. It's becoming an insurmountable task.
Here is the Gedächtniskirche, the Kaiser Wilhelm Memorial Church, built in 1895, much destroyed during the Second World War, but what has remained has become and remains an important monument in Berlin.
The crowd's loving this familiar scenes, a sense of deja vu to some degree, Chris, as he heads along in that white vest with his sponsors on the top, and the red shorts the same as last year, the bouncing stride of Kipchoge, 35k, 1:41.10.
Yeah, so just over a minute outside the world record of last year. In fact, 63 seconds outside, so he is slipping away. It was 45 seconds 5 kilometres ago. That's just grown now by about 18 seconds. So you're absolutely right, Tim. There's no clawing back. Indeed, he's slipping away further, which then turns our attention to the chasing pack. How far behind are they? And have they got any chance at all of reeling this man in and denying him a 5th victory here in Berlin?
It would be extraordinary if they could.
So let's just look back on the men's race so far. These are the main stories in the men's and women's race. And Safer, Tim, is the story of the women's race so far.
Well, it is, Chris, because she's got about half an hour of running to do, and she's on world record schedule. She went through halfway in 66.21, way inside world record schedule. The pacemakers done an incredible job in the men's race today. Kipchoge, the main beneficiary.
Yeah, at 31 kilometres, he lost the only other athlete who was in company. And are the chasing pack starting to gain ground, allowing for the foreshortening? This would be a real shock. Let's keep an eye on the gap between Kipchoge and the rest of the field. He's still got around 18 or 19 minutes.
47 seconds the gap is down to now at 35k. 1:41.10 for Kipchoge, and Kipruto chasing 1:41.57.
So 47 seconds the gap. Kipchoge looks to have slowed here. Remember, Only once before has he not won in Berlin. That was on debut in 2013, beaten into second place by Wilson Kipsang. It's not a position he has experienced on his other visits here in Berlin. And Tim, tell me, how much information the bikes and the people about that gap and what it's doing behind him?
I wonder, because his management agency, Jos Hermans, and his entourage are here, but is anybody able to be yelling information at him at the moment? I'm not sure. I don't see anybody that he's familiar with on bikes alongside him, so he'll be doing his own computations. Whether he will be aware that that gap is gradually closing from the chasing pack, I don't know, but here you can see Tigist Assefa still looks very calm, doesn't she? Her demeanour, her facial expression, giving nothing away. And Assefa here has gone through 33k at the moment with a 3:04. She is accelerating. I mean, her times these last 5 kilometres, 3:03, 3:05, 3:06, 3:05, 3:04, metronomic running, albeit with a slight acceleration from the previous 5k. Her projected time at 33k with 9k to go, 2:12.17. I mean, if she keeps this up, Chris, we could see, and this just sounds like science fiction, we could see a 2:11 something winning time for Tigist Assefa here. It is just astonishingly strong running. There it is, 1 minute 22 seconds inside the steady tempo for world record. 1:44.50 it should be at 33k. She's on 1:43.28. It's a massive margin from that virtual figure of Brigid Kosgei, who's way down the road behind her.
Excuse me, just talking across pictures, but in the men's race, in that chasing pack, we have two debutants at the marathon distance. Tadessa Tekeli from Ethiopia and Vincent Kipkemoi from Kenya, both making their debuts and both in that chasing pack. So that would be quite a story, along with Amos Kipruto. Remember, the gap was 47 seconds at 35 kilometres. We'll keep an eye and see if that's closing, and if so, by how much.
Well, Gebru here, doing a great job. I don't know if there's any communication going on between them, if she's been speaking to him at all, maybe at moments when we haven't had a camera on them. We saw her passing drinks to him about 45 minutes ago. There was plenty of coordination between the pair, and she's tucked in, slipstreaming him here, getting a very, very slight advantage from that slipstreaming effect. It may seem insignificant. She's so close to him, I'm almost worried she might clip his heels, look. But there is a very, very slight, we're talking about these tiny, tiny marginal gains. There's a slight marginal gain from being tucked in behind somebody and running along in their slipstream. So her 33rd kilometre was at 3:04, before that a 3:05 and a 3:06 and a 3:05. And that information on that lead vehicle that she needs to see isn't there right now, but she will be fully aware that she's heading here at the moment for a world record. Gebru rocking from side to side. He's having a little grimace to himself. It's hard work. It's understandable. He's running 2:12 pace.
Yeah, it's meant to hurt. And this a significant part of the course. This is the Kurfürstendamm, the Kudamm, one of the most famous streets in Berlin, where the finish line was. Actually, she's approaching 34 kilometres. And between 1981 and 2000, this is where the Berlin Marathon actually finished before it was moved. And then moved again. Huge crowds. They'll go past KaDeWe, the famous department store as well, and then over the Spree for the second time. But Assefa, irresistible.
So she has put the opposition to bed. Last year, 3 half marathons she won. She won here in Berlin. Her personal best for a half marathon, by the way, is not spectacular. You know, there are plenty of athletes around now who are running 64, 65 minutes. She's run 67 minutes. That was in Germany back in April last year. She's very much focused upon this event now.
Well, the chasing group, look at that, are now, what, just about 200 metres behind. This is getting interesting. This is getting very, very interesting, and a little bit worrying for Eliud Kipchoge, who's still looking good. The bounce is still there, but is the tempo, is the rate at which he's running slower than that of the chasing pack? My impression is, Tim, that they are gaining, and we'll be able to bring you confirmation of that at 40k, but my sense is that that gap is closing.
Well, that's 6 or 7 minutes away yet. It'll be great to be able to see the gap back to that chasing group, but his last couple of kilometres are 2:59 and 2:57, and the gap is 43, 44 seconds. There you can see it's hovering around 43 seconds. So it has closed a little bit. Over the last few minutes, it's gone from, well, now we're seeing it's 47, 52. It's hard to tell. That's quite some variation.
Well,
but if it's around 45 seconds, I think he'll be safe because they're not closing it quickly enough. They're going to run out of road.
They're going to run out of road. And just to remind you, it was 47 seconds at 35 kilometres. It is closing, but not enough. Here is Kipruto. We haven't seen much of him throughout the race. And the two debutants there, I mentioned, in the red, Kipkemoy, Vincent Kipkemoy on debut. He's got a 59.09 half marathon personal best. And on the right of picture there, Tadesse Tekele, the 21-year-old, a 59.41 half marathon personal best. That was in Herzogenaurach in Germany last April. What a debut, though, for these two. I mean, this is a story within the story, Tim, isn't it? Two marathon debutants here, and at the moment, Kipkemoy in the red just disappeared off picture. There he is lying in second place. This is the chasing group, around 44, 45 seconds behind Eliud Kipchoge.
Yeah, good to see this chasing group and the athletes therein wearing 3. Is it 3?
Yeah, Kipruto.
It is Kipruto.
So he's losing ground. So they're the two debutants here, running their first ever marathon, and in second and third place at the moment in this race.
Yeah, has run a 2:03. That was in Tokyo in March last year when he finished second to Eliud Kipchoge. He's in his 15th marathon, so he's got plenty of experience, and he will know probably that the writing is on the wall as he struggles to see those two go away from him.
So, a little over 10 minutes of running left for Eliud Kipchoge, with a chasing group who are slightly gaining on him, but we feel that they're going to run out of road. They've only got around 4 kilometres left, and Eliud Kipchoge, there he is, in splendid solitary isolation into the latter stages of this race down the Kudamm. He's going to do those dog legs and come out eventually on Unter den Linden. There he is, going past. I think he's going past our hotel, Tim, as we speak there on the Leipziger Straße.
Oh look, Chris, there's somebody going through your room helping themselves to your laptop. Yeah, a little bit of cloud cover today, a little bit of mist over the city when they started nearly 2 hours ago now, and that was probably playing to the benefit of the athletes because it's kept it cool. A little bit chilly if you're walking around in shirt sleeves or a t-shirt, but ideal for marathon running as you continue to sweat and benefit from that sweating. When it gets hot and humid and temperature climbs, then it's much, much tougher conditions. There is Eliud Kipchoge, massive bicycles trying to keep up with this fella around the streets of the German capital. And that chasing group, that chasing pair, Chris, have got him in their sights now. And it's significant when you turn a corner and you can see somebody up the road ahead of you. It gives you that incentive. It's like a carrot being dangled in front of you.
It is. We shouldn't get carried away by the foreshortening, of course, of those pictures. It makes it look as though they're just behind him. But they are still significantly behind. But the question is, are they gaining? And if so, by how much? And have they got enough road left? Kipchoge's got a little over 3 kilometres to go. There we are. Kipchoge left of picture, and the chasing group, goodness me. Now, at what point, Tim, does Kipchoge look over his shoulder, if at all? Knowing him, he won't. He won't give them the satisfaction of knowing that they're there.
Well, Chris, his 38th kilometre at 3:03. The world record holder, the defending champion, is tiring. That's his slowest kilometre of the race. 3:03 for kilometre 38 from Eliud Kipchoge, and they are chasing. They've got a target. He's got a target on his back, in effect. Or at least he he would have for them if they could see beyond this car that's right behind him, which is a little bit weird.
So Kipkemboy in the red is leading the charge. A group of three, Kipkemboy and Tekeli, new names in marathon running, alongside Amos Kipruto, who's finished second behind Eliud Kipchoge on several occasions. But there is Kipkemboy wearing 69 in his first ever World Marathon Majors, first ever marathon of any sort. And at the moment, and look at that, what an incentive that is. And they are gaining, no doubt about it. Has Eliud got enough road?
Well, he's got to remain calm here. He's 11 seconds up on them at the moment, up on the world record schedule, 11 seconds over world record schedule, I should say. So he's still moving at a remarkable pace, but that last kilometre a little bit worrying. 3:03, the world record. This stage he was knocking out 250s, 252s, and they are closing all the time. There is a race on here. This is a fascinating final act yet to unfold here, Chris.
Well, we've been talking about numbers through most of the last couple of hours, and once again, I hope you've not found that too much of an overkill. But with all due respect, I think the numbers now go out of the window. This is all about racing, and this is all about this man, for example. Vincent Kipkemboy was speaking to one of his team the other day and said he's really looking forward to seeing what he can do here. Just to remind you, never run a marathon before, 59:09. His best effort, that was last year over the half marathon. Based in Kenya, so we could be heading for a Kenyan 1-2. We've also got the Ethiopian Tadessa Tekeli in there as well, also on debut. Approaching 40 kilometres. And that gap is getting narrower and narrower. Remember, at 35k, the gap in terms of time was 47 seconds. It feels as though that has got a lot closer. How much is Kipchoge tiring? Just over 2 kilometres to go for what would be a 5th Berlin victory. And Tim, it's barely credible, but I ask you the question, can Eliud Kipchoge hang on?
Well, it's a very good question, because can you imagine, as they go through the Brandenburg Gate, them being side by side? The smile is there. Is it a grimace? Is it the Kipchoge version of a grimace? His 38th kilometre at 3:03, his 39th kilometre at 3:01, Chris. And just looking as he's approaching 40k, there he goes through 2:55. He has rallied, maybe got a little glance at those behind him. Kipchoge 1:56.06 at 40k.
He's picked it up, and you know, last year he did back-to-back 2:52s in the last 2 kilometres, and he looks as though he's rallied here. Maybe the message got through and he's just picked it up. He's not about to relinquish his Berlin crown that easily. And there's a definite injection of pace. And has he got enough of a buffer there to get him home over the line? 31 seconds at 40k. So they've made up 16 seconds over 5 kilometres. The gap is still a reasonably healthy 31 seconds. Can they make that up in 2.2 kilometres?
I think they're going to run out of road now. That's still over half a minute, Chris. He's, as you said, his previous couple of kilometres have been a 3:03, a 3:01. That 40th kilometre for the world record holder, 2:56. The competitive instincts coming to the surface now as he realises he's in danger, and he's having to dig very, very deep here. There's still loads of bounce in that gorgeous stride of his. World record 2:01.29, and look at those winning times, Chris. I mean, they just get quicker and quicker.
Well, that's his record here in Berlin, the 4 victories. He's heading for number 5. Haile Gebrselassie has also won on 4 occasions, so if he can hang on here, he would be out on his own in terms of Berlin wins. It would be 5 out of 6. There's the chaser, Kipkemboy in the red. There he is on debut, having the race of his life. And what an incentive that is. Has he got enough time? There is Gendarmenmarkt, one of the loveliest squares in the whole of Berlin. They'll do a series of dog legs, turning left then right, then left then right, and eventually they'll come out onto Unter Linden, and there Kipchoge will see the Brandenburg Gate and a familiar sight, and he knows almost every inch of this tarmac. He's run it on so many occasions, and all bar one he's won it. Into the last kilometre or so, still looking full of bounce. This has been a very different race for Eliud Kipchoge to any other one he's done here in Berlin. The clock ticking round to approaching the 2-hour mark. The world record is not going to be beaten today. The sub-2 that we thought might be on in the early parts of the race has gone as well, well gone. And he's picked it up, hasn't he, here, Tim? I think he's picked up the knees. The cadence is increasing.
We are going to see a world record, however, in that women's contest. There's little doubt of that now. I can tell you Tigist Assefa is still pumping out 3:07 per kilometre. If she was going to run 2:14 exactly, she'd be running 3:10 per kilometre. But she's way inside that. She's going to threaten the 2:12 barrier. I mean, her last kilometre, a 3:02 now. At 38k for Tigist Assefa. Her projected finishing time has come down to 2:12.07. Can you believe? It is, she's pushing now a 2-minute improvement on the world record.
Well, the current world recorder in the men's race has got one more significant turn to come. That's his view. He will turn left onto Unter den Linden in the sunshine. And it feels from here as though he's done enough. We look out for the red vest of Kip Kemboy behind him, the debutant, but Eliud Kipchoge turning left then, and the familiar sight of Unter den Linden, the tree-lined avenue, so significant over the years. The Hotel Adlon will come into view on his left, and from here we can't see it, but Eliud Kipchoge can. There he can now. There is the Brandenburg Gate, and from there he knows it's less than a lap of the track in track terms. Surely now he can't be beaten. The clock ticks round to 2 hours and 30 seconds. The world record will have to wait for another day, but Eliud Kipchoge is now on his way to a 5th Berlin victory.
Chris, that glorious sight of Kipchoge with just a few hundred metres to go, the glorious sight for him for the first time with the Brandenburg Gate, that is almost like the finish line. It's like a forewarning of the finish. If he gets there in first place with a gap behind him, then he can enjoy those last 352 metres to the finish line. He can stride out, wave to the crowd and accept his 5th victory. That is surely what's coming his way. It has been yet again a marvellous performance from Kipchoge, who for so long threatened the world record, but now is just threatening to win for the 5th time, barring disaster. He's nearly home and dry.
Well, his current world record has just come and gone. 2:01.09 was last year. It's still going to be a pretty good time. He's still going to come in and around 2:02 and bits, but the sunshine is out as he goes through the arches of the famous Brandenburg Gate, opened in 1791, and from here it's 352 metres, less than a lap of the track. He's been here so many times before, the crowd going crazy, the sunshine is out, and the stage is set for Eliud Kipchoge, who for the first time looks over his shoulder. The victory is secure. They had been threatening to come back at him. At one point, we were talking about sub-2 hours. At another point for much of the race, we talked about a new world record. That's not to be, but Eliud Kipchoge now is on his way to victory number 5 here in Berlin. Another masterful performance on the streets of the German capital. And now he can enjoy his moment. The pressure is off. Kip Kemboy in the red is behind him. What a race he's had. It will bring him home in a few minutes, but he's almost there. The finish line is there. The last few metres for Eliud Kipchoge. A different race here in Berlin for the first time, but it's victory number 5 for Eliud Kipchoge. 2:02.40 the winning time. The world record not bothered today, but he won't mind. He moves ahead of Haile Gebrselassie with a 5th victory in total in Berlin. That's 16 wins in 19 marathons. And what about the story here for our second placer? brilliant performance. Vincent Kipkemboi, his first ever marathon. No wonder he's celebrating. What a moment for the youngster. Yes, that's all about marathon running. Well done to Kipkemboi. And Tadesse Tekeli comes home in third. The two debutants, second and third. Tekeli from Ethiopia, the 21-year-old, comes home in third place. So, the master gets the victory. And the two apprentices, well, they've learnt their craft really well on this opening day. Brilliant performance by Eliud Kipchoge, and the Kenyan crowds, who are out here in number, are loving their moment. Victory number 5, a 5-star performance from Eliud Kipchoge.
And the Kenyans celebrate yet again in style, proudly waving their banners aloft. What a run from Kipchoge. Officially his time 2:02.42, by the way. Another supreme performance where he turned back the challenges of the pretenders. 1-2 for Kenya, with Tadesse Tekeli of Ethiopia in his debut running 2:03.24 behind the debut run of Kipkemboi, 2:03.13 for second. Oh dear.
Well, just to put it into context quickly, 2:02.42 is the 8th fastest time in history, so not too shabby.
Now, Tigista Sefa, back to her. We've been talking about the wonderful racing for the last half hour or so in the men's race. This is not racing, this is an exhibition performance from the Ethiopian. The reigning champion, the defending champion, the champion to be surely in just a few minutes' time. 2 hours, 4 minutes on the clock. Her projected has been gradually coming down towards 2:12. Her 39th kilometre was a 3:07, and that gave her a projected winning time of 2:12.07. And look at this, 1 minute 47 inside the world record. Bridget Kosgei's performance has been, threatened, but not broached since 4 years ago, 2019 in Chicago, when she lopped well over a minute off the long-standing, fabulous world record of Paula Radcliffe. Well, now the world record of Bridget Kosgei is about to be resigned to history, because this will be the world record holder, surely in just a very few minutes' time, about 7 minutes away. Tigista Sefa through 40k in 2:05.14, 2:05.13. There is the first German, yes.
Amanal Petros coming home in 2:04.59, so he said he was on 2:04 shape. It's a huge personal best. He's taken over a minute off his previous lifetime best on debut in Berlin, and surely has qualified for Paris next year in the Olympic Games. Well done to Amanal Petros, the German number 1.
Through 40k then in 2:05.14. Bridget Kosgei went through 40k in 2:07.11. She's 1 minute 57 seconds ahead of Bridget Kosgei, and still looking strong. The shoulders, the arms maybe beginning to roll from side to side a little bit more. Jared Ward there. Well, he was 6th in the Rio Olympic Games, was Jared Ward, coached by my old mucker, my old friend Ed Eyestone, great marathon runner and 10,000 metre runner of years gone by. Jared Ward, the supremely cerebral marathon racer. Now in the latter years of his career, he would be the first to admit that. But here, chasing the leading woman, I wonder if pride will make him stick with her and ease past her once they're through the Brandenburg Gate. Gebre is of the three is the one who's had to do the hard running. Gebru, the pacemaker, really straining here to help her, Sefa, through these final few kilometres to the finish line. Chris, she is trusting, relying upon Gebru. They're linked together there by a band no more than about a metre long. She is stuck with him kilometre after kilometre, and he has been the most wonderful, wonderful lead for her.
Well, he's done all the heavy lifting, hasn't he? And he's made it relatively straightforward for her. But he looks as though he's really suffering now, and he's just gesturing, and maybe he's about to move and give her clear daylight. Approaching 41 kilometres, they've got just 2 more turns before they come into Unter den Linden, and as we saw with Eliud Kipchoge, once that final turn is negotiated and the Brandenburg Gate comes into view, then the heart can lift, and then you know you're home.
Well, the first time 2:20 was broken for the marathon was here in Berlin. Naoko Takahashi back in 2001 for Japan, winning with 2:19.46. Now, there are no less than 65 women who have broken 2 hours 20 for the marathon. Jared Ward there to the left of picture, just striding out, feeling strong, maybe feeling he was almost hypnotized by sticking behind Assefa when he knew he could go a little bit quicker. But it matters not a jot, because Gebru rightly there saying to Assefa, come on, move to the fore, get the glory yourself. I think he's very aware here that maybe he's sort of hogging the camera shot, and it's not his fault. World record 2:14.04, you can see bottom right of picture there by Bridget Kosgei. That back in Chicago on the 13th of October 2019 was a historic improvement. The world record prior to that was Paula Radcliffe's 2:15.25 in London back in 2003. Well, it's about to take another massive jump, a bigger jump even than Kosgei managed 4 years ago, and we never thought we'd see that, Chris.
No, we didn't. I think the gesturing is to make sure that she sticks to the shortest line, the blue line, making sure she doesn't waver even by a few centimeters. There is again, pointing to the blue line. That's your line, and there's the prize, and there's the Brandenburg Gate.
The Brandenburg Gate then beckons for Tigist Assefa, the 2022 champion, who in winning 12 months ago in 2:15.37 became the third fastest woman in history, is going to be the 2023 champion, but it's a very different story. She's running here towards a place in the history books. She's running towards a new world record, and she's going to better the world record of Bridget Kosgei from 4 years ago in Chicago by possibly more than 2 minutes. At 41k, her clocking for the kilometre was 3:03. Her projected time 2:12.01. Now, if she can rally these last few hundred metres, could she break the 2:12 barrier? Unheard of improvement from this woman, Tigist Assefa, 29 years old, in only her third ever marathon. There's Gebru, her pacemaker, who has done such a marvellous job. He's coached her through, coaxed her through, and now she approaches the Brandenburg Gate. It will be her retaining of the title here in Berlin, and he gestures her on with a wave there, almost a push through the Brandenburg Gate and into the glorious Berlin sunshine for Tigist Assefa. Look at the clock, 2:11 on the clock. She's got 300 metres to go. Can she get under 2:12? I think she can. She's going to better the world record, possibly here, by over 2 minutes. She's striding away now. This is the young girl who many years ago, back in 2014, ran 54 seconds for 400, a world-class 1:59 for 800 metres. And today, she becomes world record holder in the marathon, surely. A couple hundred metres to run. Tigist Assefa takes the world record to Ethiopia, snatches it from the grasp of Bridget Kosgei of Kenya from 4 years ago in Chicago. A few metres to go, still no smile, still that focus, and the world record is hers. And look at the clock, 2 hours 11:52. Unofficially, history is made. It is writ large in spectacular manner here in Berlin. 2:11:52. Let that sink in. I love it. Stops her own watch. Maybe some 30 seconds or so too late. But her coach there, Gebru Geramimedu, giving her a huge hug. She took 2.5 minutes off the course record last year. Well, she's just lopped more than 3.5 minutes off her own course record from a year ago. And we are in science fictional territory here. Gebru gives her a huge hug. What a job he's done as her pacemaker throughout, all the way through to about 42 kilometres. He left the glory stretched to her. But Chris, that is the marathon performance of the year, the marathon performance in many respects for many years. from Tigist Assefa. A delightful story from a young woman last year who shocked us all with that personal best by 18 minutes. Who thought she'd improve her personal best by over 3 minutes in a huge new world record today?
Well, that is life-changing, isn't it? What a privilege to have witnessed that here in Berlin. And I'm looking at the numbers again. 2:11:52. I mean, there are some 800-metre runners who will be pleased with that as the numbers for an 800 metres race on the track, 2:11. But it's 2 hours, 11 minutes, 52 seconds. No wonder the coach is delighted. A little bit of history. And just a word about Paula Radcliffe. We haven't mentioned it already in commentary, but she's out on the course today, pacing a group at around 3:30 pace. And when you think about, Tim, the 2:15:25 that stood for over a decade, this has just sent that world record into the stratosphere. Bridget Kosgei, 2:14:04, and now 2:11:53 is the official time. 2:11:53, a new women's marathon record.
Just staggering. No wonder she's giving those shoes a kiss. They have carried her well all the way through to the performance of all time in the women's marathon. Conditions perfect this morning in Berlin, but so many other things have to come together. Get your ducks in a row, as they say. So many things have to be aligned right. The training has to go well, day in, day out, week in, week out, for many months prior to a performance like this. Travel has to be right, the sleep has to be right beforehand, the food, the diet has to be right. Everything has to click, and it has today in spectacular fashion. That is huge credit to her and her support team. And here, the second place, by the looks of things, Sheila Chepkirui, when we can get her in focus, 32 years old, and she, coming towards the Brandenburg Gate, may threaten her personal best. She's about 2 minutes inside it at the moment, 2:17:29 for third in Valencia last December. She was fourth in London in 2:18:51. She is tired, though. Look at the difference. The stride, the gait of Assefa at this stage a few minutes ago was powerful. It was adrenaline-fueled. It was an acceleration, whereas Sheila Chepkirui here, half smile, half grimace for her as she closes in on what looks to be a pretty comfortable second place.
Yeah, had a baby daughter back in 2018, ran that personal best in Valencia on debut. 2:17:29. Dropped out of the sport in 2008, didn't return to elite athletics until 2015, so she had a number of years away from the sport. Then, of course, there was the interruption from COVID. But here she is, Tim, with just over 350 metres to go.
Well, last year she mixed her track and road racing, including a win in the Berlin Half Marathon. That was in a 65:02. She became the 7th fastest ever in the half marathon, with third at the Ras Al Khaimah Half Marathon. She took a bronze medal in the Commonwealth Games 10,000 metres, behind Eilish McColgan's marvellous victory in the Best of Scotland. And she has great track personal bests, and her last 4 half marathons, listen to this, 64, 67, 64, 65. Fabulously consistent in the half marathon. At the age of 32, can she improve? Well, she's not going to improve her best today, 2:17:29, almost up on the clock, bottom right of your screen. But it has nonetheless been a marvellous run from Sheila Chepkirui. Couldn't match Assefa for very long, and hardly surprising now when you see Assefa's winning time to 11:53 to give it the exact right mark, as Chris said. And she is hurting. She looks mortal, and that is almost reassuring for some of us who have been there in years gone by. She is working so hard for this time, and it's not far outside her lifetime best. A brilliant second there for Sheila Chepkirui in Berlin. And that official second place time for Sheila Chepkirui was just inside 2:18. It was about half a minute outside a lifetime best. Waiting for that to come through.
6 minutes, the difference between Tigist Assefa in first and second place, Chepkarui.
And Chepkarui taking second. And Shauri coming through for third place. And this is, again, has been a lonely run for her through the latter stages. Stressed, no time for smiling from her. Shauri, Magdalena Shauri of Tanzania from the Arusha club takes third place in Berlin 2023, making her debut, and she runs 2:18:48, something like that. She's a 66-minute half marathon runner, but 2:18:50, something like that.
2:17:49.
By the way, 2:17:49. 5 minutes 56 behind that astonishing run of Assefa. Let me just say it again for you in case it hasn't quite sunk in. 2:11:53, the winning time in the Berlin Marathon for the first woman home. A new world record by 2 minutes and 11 seconds.
There is Odessa, who was in contention, wasn't she, for the first half of the race?
Here it is again, the winning form of Tigist Assefa, crossing the line in 2 hours, 11 minutes, 53 seconds, lopping 2 minutes and 11 seconds off what itself was a fabulous world record by Bridget Kosgei back in 2019. In 4 years, it's now leaps forward over 2 minutes. And dare I say it, in 4 years' time, we'll be looking at a woman running under 2:10. It is unthinkable until this last 4 or 5 years that women could get down to these sorts of times. But Tigist Assefa is the BMW Berlin Marathon champion of 2023 in a stunning world record. And of course it means this race, this course, this city now has both world records for men and women.
Yeah, the 13th world record to be set on this course, and Berlin continues to maintain its reputation as the fastest marathon on the planet, bar none. Proof again today. Mark Milder, we saw him earlier, among the first to congratulate Tigist Assefa, will be delighted as race director. What is it about Berlin? What is it about this place at this time of the year? All the ingredients have to be there in the right mix. But the most important of them is a world-class athlete in tip-top shape. And in Tigist Assefa, we certainly had that today. We had the usual pancake flat course, the weather, the temperature, perfect. No wind, a cool start, and then the sunshine comes out in the latter stages just to enhance the photographs. And Tim, we should say, €50,000 bonus for the world record.
Yeah, quite a handy morning's work, but of course it represents many months of hard endeavour. Well, she followed the blue line around the city, marked by 3 little strikes every few metres. She had 3 strikes on her shoes just to match that, and it was a 3-strike performance. In fact, more like a general performance from her to win here today. F22, that is Dominika Meyer of Germany, from the Bayern Police and the Telesfinanz Regensburg club. She won Hanover this year, or last year rather, in 2:26:50, and she will be the leading German woman home. She might well yet, yes she will, set a massive personal best. Look at this, she's probably got about a minute and a half to go. She is going to run under 2:24, I think, is Dominika Meyer. What a run from her, the 32-year-old, being encouraged all the way there through the Brandenburg Gate. And is that Chris Thompson? It is. Chris Thompson left a picture.
Yes, Tomo.
Tomo, an Olympian for Great Britain in Tokyo 2021, is encouraging Meyer through. He's done a pretty good job, if indeed he was her pacemaker. And reasons to be cheerful for German distance running. Just going back to the men's result. Petros, the leading German, home today in 9th place, 2:04.58. So Petros, well, he was looking to improve his own personal best of 2:06.27. He did that by almost a minute and a half, albeit missing that European record, which was under 2:04. And Meyer here, well, she will come home by the looks of things in 10th place. Charlotte Purdue, by the way, in 9th place, 2:22.17 for Great Britain. That's a new personal best for her.
Good to see her back.
Ethiopians, though, filling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the top 8 places. And here comes the German champion for this year. What a run it is. What a brilliant run it is for Dominika Meyer.
And 10 the qualifying time for the Olympics, 2:26.50, and she's well under that for the Olympic qualifying time for Paris.
Tape down that right hamstring and all. Superb performance from Meyer. And she's just run herself into the Paris Olympic team for Germany.